We're breaking in right now to regular programming to bring you to Trinity Bellwoods Park in Toronto, where Brad Ross, the Toronto City spokesperson, is now reacting to a massive group of people violating physical distancing yesterday.
Much more enforcement in place to educate residents about appropriate physical distancing and behavior that we need to see in parks, because frankly COVID-19 is still with us and it is still very much a threat to this city, and we want to make sure that that people remain healthy and safe. We want people to get outside, get exercise, enjoy this beautiful summer-like weather, but we want them to do it responsibly, and that includes not just physical distancing but no alcohol consumption in the parks either, because that contributes to issues significantly in our parks. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Sorry, can you repeat that? Yeah, so we discussed yesterday evening the need to have more enforcement in the park, to really send that message. And it's really, you know, it's not so much enforcement, it's about the education. So it's police and municipal bylaw enforcement officers who are in the park today, who've been here since 7 o'clock this morning, in fact, making sure that when people arrive that they understand, A, there's no alcohol to be consumed in the park, and B, if you're going to be in the park, that you must maintain physical distancing. We can't have crowds like we saw yesterday. Thousands of people on this very field was unacceptable and unsafe. And so yes, having a police and municipal bylaw enforcement presence in the park helps make sure that people understand why we're doing what we're doing. It's just not because we don't want people to enjoy the park, because we do, but we want them to enjoy it responsibly under the current rules that are in place to protect the public.
Some would suggest that might be too little, too late. Why wasn't there more enforcement yesterday?
So there was enforcement here yesterday, but bear in mind there were thousands of people here, and it was determined that it just becomes impractical to try to enforce, that is, write tickets to thousands of people. And so you know, and I can't speak for the police, but generally you just need to now make sure that you're able to keep the peace when you have this many people in the park. So we don't want any more repeats of yesterday, and so going forward we'll make sure that there's appropriate presence of police and bylaw enforcement officers, not just in this park but other parks. And frankly, look, yesterday there were lots of people out in parks, but they were doing what they've been asked to do in terms of the physical distancing measures that are in place. Unfortunately, this park, that was not the case, and so that's why we're here today, to make sure that people are getting the message. It's about education first, enforcement second, and frankly, yesterday, trying to enforce physical distancing in addition to all of the liquor violations would have become, frankly, impractical.
Folks that were here yesterday partying, they walked across the street and then urinated on their properties. Obviously that's really just disgusting, disappointing for a lot of folks here to see this. Is the city planning on opening up any bathrooms?
So we are working with Toronto Public Health on a protocol to allow us to open up the public washrooms in parks, because there's some cleaning regimens that we have to put in place to ensure that we, you know, that people can stay safe and healthy when using public washrooms. And so that is a process that is underway now, and we hope to be able to make an announcement on that fairly soon. But there is no excuse for the behavior you just described, and we did write several tickets yesterday for public urination. It's not something that we ever want to have to do, obviously. If people are going to come to a park like this knowing that washrooms are not open, then they need to keep that in mind when they do come to parks.
Can I also ask that you guys had yesterday, today, obviously a heavy police presence here, not nearly as busy as it was yesterday, but were there discussions around closing the park, even if it's just during peak times like Saturdays and Sundays?
There's been no discussion in terms of closing this park or any other park. We closed High Park, a very unique situation, frankly, because of the cherry blossom bloom, and knowing just how many tens of thousands of people that those trees do attract every spring. And so that was a decision that staff made in consultation, you know, across the organization, not just parks, but transportation and police and bylaw enforcement, that was the right thing to do, given the situation we were in at the time with respect respect to COVID-19. We have since, as you know, eased some of the measures around, the reopening of parks amenities. So tennis courts, for example, have reopened, and baseball diamonds are reopening, and other amenities within the parks. Playgrounds remain closed, but you can use the green space. Parks have always been open, and there's never been any intention to close parks wholesale, including this one. We want to educate people so that they know that they can come and use this park, but how do you do that safely? How do you do that in a way that not just protects yourself, but protects your fellow residents?
Why do you think it was such an issue here at Trinity specifically? There's over 1,000 parks in Toronto. The other parks seem to have no issue. Why here?
I couldn't speculate on why here. I mean, this is a large park and a very popular park. It is in the downtown, and it is a dense area. Of course, the downtown urban core is dense. There's a lot of people who may not necessarily have a backyard, for example, to go to. So they come here, and it became a bit of a party atmosphere, frankly, and alcohol was a contributing factor to much of that. And so it is our intention to allow people to use this park safely, but to do so in a law-abiding fashion.
Brad, I just want to note that across the street from us, Police Chief Mark Saunders is speaking with some residents as we're talking just across the street. Speak to this and tell us whether this indicates just how seriously Toronto police are taking what happened yesterday.
Look, I can't speak for the police. I'm sure the chief will be happy to speak with you, but the city takes this very seriously. We issued a very rare statement late last night at 10:30, about what happened here yesterday, and just how serious we take it. This is about public health. This is about making sure that we do everything we can to stop the spread of COVID-19. And to do that, people need to continue to do the right thing by maintaining physical distancing, to washing your hands, to, if you're inside somewhere and you cannot physically distance, to wear a mask, for example. This virus, from the outset to today, the information continues to evolve, the science continues to evolve, and so therefore the information we share with the public and the education components also continue to evolve. And so we recognize how challenging it has been. 10 weeks that people have stayed home, have not been at work. Many people have lost their jobs. More than 700 people have tragically died as a result of this virus. We do not want to be set back in any way. We want to make sure that we can do everything we can as a city, and that includes all the enforcement components. That includes elected officials to make sure that the city can continue to function in a way that allows for mental health as well, that allows for exercise, for fresh air. You can do those things. There are 1,500 parks in this city. Use them, please, but please do so responsibly.
And Brian, can I just ask you for a bit of clarification? I think there's a ton of rules, a ton of public health measures in place. For folks that are just watching this now and wondering, what can I do, what can I not do? Obviously, we know you can't meet with people, hard drive people, you've got to keep that distance of 6 meters. Is it okay to come to a park, meet with people outside your household as long as you're staying 6 feet apart?
It is. So that the physical distancing that is staying apart 2 meters from others is from others outside of your house, people you don't live with, frankly. So no more than 5. So whether they're family or friends, if you all, you share a house with 4 other people, then that is your family bubble. You can meet friends at the park, but yes, please stay 2 meters apart. That is the requirement. That is what the science of public health tells us about the transmission of COVID-19. It is by droplet, and so by maintaining that physical distance, you're able to protect yourself and to protect others.
I also want to ask you, just because this is the first weekend we've seen a lot of amenities open up, and things like basketball courts, tennis courts, volleyball courts. For example, yesterday we were at Woodbine Beach. There were probably 10 people playing volleyball. Is this going to be something the city enforces in the weeks ahead as we move into summer?
Well, we've opened up these parks amenities, based on provincial orders. What can we open based on the provincial orders? Some amenities in parks remain closed. under provincial order, and so those that are lifted, we then work with Public Health, Toronto Public Health, to make sure that we can open them in a way that is safe. So that started with dog parks on Tuesday, for example, and so over the weekend, enforcement of off-leash dogs has been something that we have been focused on, because now we have dog parks that are open, so there's no excuse for dog owners to walk their dog off-leash in a non-designated dog area. Opening up tennis courts and baseball diamonds and basketball courts is all part of that, very deliberate and slow process of reopening to give people opportunities to do things outside of their home. And so when you do that, we ask that you maintain that physical distancing. Go out, get exercise, yes, but please be mindful of physical distancing when you are out.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody? Yes.
One quick question. There's some images that have been surfacing online of Mayor Tory down here at Trinity yesterday. If he was down here seeing all these people gathering, why weren't more reinforcements brought in, Brad?
So I'm going to have to refer you to the mayor's office. I don't work for the mayor's office. The mayor's office will be happy to respond to you on that. Okay, everybody? Thanks so much. Thank you.
We take you back to Trinity Bellwoods Park after the controversy in Toronto yesterday. The city's police chief, Mark Saunders, now speaking.
And what we were doing, a lot of complaints were coming in from the residents, people urinating, people defecating on their properties. And so when you've got an elderly woman opening the door and seeing someone defecating, it's quite bothersome. So we issued a number of tickets for that type of public disorder, but it didn't really explain the whole park. Because I can tell you on the north side of the park, the social distancing was being done well. On the south end of the park, the social distancing was done well. So it's not everybody that was here, but certainly in this section that we're standing in, there was a lot of non-compliance with that aspect of it. If you have a look at what's happened today, we've made it very clear. You're welcome to use any of the parks, and we encourage that, but you have to follow the rules. This is, when I say we're all in this together, we are all in this together. And if the expectations are that the Toronto police are going to resolve a pandemic, that is not going to happen. Everybody plays a part. Those health workers that are out there putting their lives on the line, my frontline men and women, the paramedics, the firefighters, we totally understand this. And as much as we're all living a little bit differently, we have to go day by day. We have to keep our feet on the gas because we want the city to turn around, but we can't do it whenever we have this type of activity.
But just a quick follow-up, you say it's not up to the police to solve the pandemic, but the role of the police is to enforce. Shouldn't police
absolutely
enforce those physical distancing rules?
Absolutely. No, we enforced yesterday with respect to that. And I didn't say that it's our role. We all play a part. And I think that that's critical too. I don't think you expect us to set up a line formation with paddy wagons. That's not what this is about. When you look at the behavior of Torontonians on a day-to-day basis in the 9-10 weeks that we have done this, the vast majority of people have been in compliance. And when you look at yesterday, the vast majority of our 3 million people were in compliance. Yes, we had a segment here, and now this is a focal point. And we're working in partnership with our MLS folks and as well as with the city to make sure that we get it right, to make sure that we educate, that we enforce where necessary. Yesterday we were enforcing, but unfortunately the numbers were huge. And so when we switched over towards the neighborhoods, because these people are paying taxes, they bought probably because of the beautiful aspects of the park, but they certainly didn't buy to have people defecating in their laneways, in their backyards, urinating, That kind of humanizes it a little bit. When I was listening to some of the testimonials from the neighbors, I felt for that. I felt for that. And so really, I don't think people are mean-spirited to the core, but I do think that they got to look at big picture. And if you're going to be bringing beer here, and then utilize someone else's house as a toilet, there's a bit of self-entitlement there, and we've made it very clear, no alcohol in this park.
There's no washrooms, or no one can go into washrooms anywhere, so how are people meant to actually use parks and go to facilities if everything is locked down? Can't go to a restaurant?
Yeah, and I can, I shouldn't have to tell you don't drink bleach, right? So if you're going to come with beer in a park that has no washroom, then you take the ownership and responsibility for that. And so there has to be common sense to all of this. We're not going to answer all of the questions, but if everyone takes their part and plays their role, then you know what? We can make it through this thing. And I do feel that yesterday hopefully provides an opportunity for a reset today and to go forward so that we can collectively help save lives, because that's what the end game is with this pandemic. And it's a phased approach. Our chief medical officer is doing a fantastic job. She's given fantastic advice from day one, minute one, working with the mayor, with City Hall, with all of the partners. We're putting the message out there loud and clear, so it's not that people don't understand. They know. Now it's about complying, and it's really understanding that we are really all in this together. It really is. I don't have the numbers right now. We can certainly push that out on another day. MLS work with us collectively for the enforcement piece, for the physical distancing, but we have other aspects. So the drinking in parks and the city bylaw for that, I believe, is $360. But I don't want to talk about tickets, and I don't want to talk about enforcement. I want to talk about what we need to do. And we need to understand that we are living in a pandemic time. This is the first time in my life and first time in everyone here's life that we're living in a pandemic. We have to treat it as a pandemic. All is not well. We have to keep our foot on the gas, and if we don't keep our foot on the gas, it will take us longer. And as it takes longer, more people are going to die.
I know you don't want to talk about enforcement, but I have to ask you, there are some residents here who I'm sure you've heard from as well. One of them has a 10-year-old son. She says, my son, if he went to a playground that was taped off, I might get a ticket for that, but I'm standing across the street from Trinity Bellwoods Park. There are thousands of people here, and no one seemed to be reprimanded for dangerous behavior.
Well, Chanel, I didn't say that I don't want to talk about enforcement. I said it's sad that I have to talk about enforcement, and we did enforce. So it's a misnomer of people saying we did not enforce. We issued tickets for the disorderlies that were here, that were utilizing private property and defecating and urinating. We did that. We're doing delays. We're listening to the complaints and the responses, and we were responding. So today is a different day. When you have a look at the park, when you have a look at the resources that are put in play, we've reset things. We want to keep that sustainability. And so I want to focus on what this is. This is a pandemic. So I'm not going to lose focus on enforcement. If we have to play an enforcement factor to help the pandemic situation, more than happy to do that. But I'm hoping that the greater good of Torontonians, which the vast majority of people are in compliance, I want the vast majority of people to encourage others to do the same thing. And I think that's where we're moving towards. And I think right now,
this is what always happens the first few really nice summer-like weekends. There are thousands of people that congregate here at Trinity Bellwoods Park. They said what happened yesterday looked exactly the same as years past. So if they knew that, why didn't you run extra resources?
I'll push back a little bit on that. The circumstances every other year is completely different than this year. We've got patios that are closed. We've got restaurants that are closed. We've got those opportunities for people to be displaced right across this incredibly large city. And so they are running out of locations to have the ability to enjoy themselves, whether it's having a beverage or things along those lines. So I'm going to say no, it's not the exact same. It absolutely is not. However, what's important... No, the size of the crowd is not the way it always is. And I've spoken to the officers, and they themselves have said they haven't seen anything like this. It was huge. And again, the fact that this was not coordinated. This was not a coordinated effort. This was just a group of people from right across the city coming here. If it was something that was coordinated, I'd have much more exception to that, and there would have been a much different response from our perspective. But I don't want to get there. I don't want to get into the speculative pieces. I want to say what happened yesterday was not a good thing. It really did not put a good signature on the city. It really didn't represent who we are, and I think we've got an opportunity to change that. I look at what's going on today, and I'm grateful for the media attention, the media coverage. You guys have done a fantastic job, and I know that it's played a huge factor in changing the behavior of what's going on right now, so I appreciate that. But we all have to keep our foot on the gas with this, and we can either point fingers at each other on what was done or what was not done, but the end game is we got to save lives, and we all know what we need to do that now.